Hello everybody, welcome back. This is Card Game Guru here today, and today I am back talking to you about just the general how the tournament went and how I felt about Modern, how I felt about the tournament, and everything like that. So here I have the top 8 in front of you. So we have 4 color elementals that won. Second place was Demir Mill. Third was Orzhov Hammer. Fourth was Crashing Footfall. 5 was, I believe, Blue Moon, right? Yeah. So it looks like this combination of like of your Is It Tempo deck. It's just kind of like it. I'm just gonna call it Blue Moon. It is what it is, really. You have your Murktide Regent, which is the only, and Snapcasters. If you guys are familiar, it's just like your blue-red control as they have it listed. Blue-white control. I believe it's just the standard. Is it Yorion or standard? Okay, so this is just your standard blue-white control deck. Sure. 4 color Rhinos. This is the Doomwake deck, I believe, right? So it's 4 color Yorion, Rhinos, elemental deck. So it's definitely an interesting deck. I'm not sure how much staying power it has. It's a little absurd that you're basically the elemental deck, the good part of the elemental deck, plus most or Omnath Fury Solitude, plus the Rhino deck, which I also thought was fine. We'll go down to the top 16. Dale Gomez was actually on Burn, I believe. Yeah, he sat next to me when we played. Looks like his only loss was to blue-white control. And he drew in round 8 with Footfalls. Okay. Sure. 9th place, you have Hammer again. 10th place, I'm not sure what they were playing. Not so sure. 11th, you have Amulet Titan. 12th was actually my buddy, Alexander Hamilton. We've been playing Magic together for a very long time, and he was actually on the blue-white Yorion control deck, which is something I'm interested in playing in the future. 13th place, you have another Hammer. 14th place, I believe this is... Oh, goodness. That's not what I wanted. Look for color Yorion. So we're looking at... It's not going to give me just the preview. Okay, so it's just basically the development that they had on the 4 color elemental deck. And then you got another Hammer deck, and then you got another elemental deck. So overall, my feelings about the format it doesn't really feel like Modern anymore, in my opinion. How is this a Bant combo deck? Excuse me, hold on, I had to look at this. This is just blue-white control, right? Yeah, it's just blue-white control. They selected the wrong deck. So my overall feelings about the Modern metagame. So I've been playing Modern, just a little bit of backstory here, since about 2011, 2010-ish, I think. Me and my buddy started playing before even they had their first sanctioned tournament. I was playing like Lotus Cobra through the Breach deck. It was pretty fun. But right now, it really just doesn't feel like Modern anymore. It feels like Modern Horizons 2 constructed. Or block constructed, or Modern Horizons block constructed, rather. And it's just not... I mean, I don't hate the format. I think it's fine. I think it's healthy. It just doesn't feel the same anymore, and it doesn't really scratch that itch that Modern used to scratch for me. I still enjoy the format, but it doesn't feel like it used to. So, what would I do to change that? I'm not really sure. So I've had this discussion with several people, about what I would do to Modern to make it quote-unquote healthier, and I'm not sure a ban really fixes that. So let's say you ban Saga. I think then you have to worry about all these other overpowered Modern Horizons 2 cards just breaking the format. So my biggest concern is actually if you ban a card from Modern Horizons, what happens to Modern, right? And I think it just gets more busted. So maybe you ban Saga. And then like blue-white control probably gets to be the best deck in the format, maybe. Maybe not. Not so sure. I think it would be interesting. But I'm just, like I said, I'm worried about what happens if you just ban one card. For me, I didn't do too great. I started off really strong. I started off 2-0. Round 3, I played against a hammer opponent, black-white hammer. Opponent mulled to 5 game 1 and killed me on 3. Well, virtually killed me. They put a Shadow Spear on a hammered up Ornithopter on turn 3, and that did not feel great. Round 4, I played against Boomer Jund, old school Jund, and those were very close games, about like they used to be, and it just came down who top deck better. In round 5, I played against blue-white control for the first time that day, and I thought I read a weakness in my opponent in that they were down to like 3. They had 1 card in their hand. They tapped out to play a Teferi, 3 mana Teferi, and drew the 1 card in their hand. So I pressured them. So I had Bolt Helix in hand. I bolted them. They counterspelled it, and I went ahead and Helixed, and then they just kind of drew themselves out of their hole. So that's really how it went. First round I played against the Elves, 2-0 Elves, and then I played against the mirror match, or not the mirror match. My opponent was actually on Boros Burn, round 2, and it was really close with him as well, and I ended up winning. Went 2-3 drop. So, reflecting on the tournament, would I have picked something different? I think I made a mistake in thinking that Burn had a better matchup against blue-white than it actually did. I don't think it's a bad matchup, but I think it's closer to 50-50 than I thought. The same thing goes with Hammer. I don't think Hammer's as bad against blue or Burn as people think it is. I think it really comes down to if you're a good Hammer player. Normally, if you're a good Hammer player, you can normally navigate yourself out of the Burn. The thing about it is, if you're the Burn player, you have to be able to put pressure on your opponent while killing their creatures, which is really hard to do, and you lean really heavily on Searing Blaze. Game 2 against that black-white Hammer player, I actually had the Deflecting Palm on their Ornithopter, but they were at 11 and not 10. So they had a second Hammer in their hand, and they just put it on their Stoneforge, and I ended up losing that way. Had a good conversation with my opponent, and they thought that I did well, and I kind of unlucky there. I mean, the deck doesn't mulligan well. Burn, and I was keeping not risky hands, but I was definitely against a blue-white, I want to say. I kept track. I think I seen out of my first opening hands, we went to 3 against the blue-white. I had 12 lands in my opening hands. I mulliganed every one of those. I went to 6 every game against blue-white, so there is that. But let's move on from that. I had a bad weekend. That's okay, though. It happens. I did finally get the Burn out of my system, so I'm actually looking at trying to... I had a conversation with one of my buddies that I've been playing Magic with for a while. In this past year or so, I've just been metagaming a lot instead of just learning a deck and learning how to play that and enjoying that deck. So I've just been kind of trying to read the room, read the meta, just to try to min-max my most percentage points, and I think it's just affecting me negatively. I don't hate playing Burn, but it's just kind of medium. I mean, it's not bad, but it has its moments. So I'm going to look into just trying to master a deck now. That's what I did when I actually got my invite to the Pro Tour. I was playing Red-Green Valakut for basically a year and a half straight, and I just got really good with the deck. I kind of knew what I needed to lean on, when I needed to lean on to it, when to play what, when to do what, and everything like that. Well, I also wanted to scroll down and show you guys really what the metagame looked like. So the most played deck was Jund mid-range. That's including Boomer and Zoomer Jund. There were 21 decks there. I think this was a 208-person tournament. 12% of the field. Overall went 58, 77, and 1. There was no Jund in the top 16. And they had a match win rate of 46%. So that's... this is actually what I was wanting to prey on. Coming into to the tournament playing Burn, I feel like the new Jund list is just kind of weak to Burn. Doesn't really have the best game against Burn. But unfortunately, the only Jund deck I played against was Boomer Jund. and I kind of just got outgrinded by Liliana one game. So let's move on to the number 2 most played deck okay. So the rank is their win percentage. Okay, I'm with it now. So number 2 most played deck was Azorius Control with 17 copies. 9% of the meta. Overall record 62, 50, and 6 with a 58% win rate. Yes, I did see that. I want to say the top table that I was at for a while had... so I would say there was 3 to 4 mirror matches going on at a time, it felt like. So yes, that was Azorius Control. Felt like the most played deck there, but I guess it wasn't. Had a way better win rate than Gen Midrange. And I think I misdiagnosed this matchup playing Burn. Unfortunate, but it happens. So then we come down to Boros Burn. So this is an interesting story. So there were 14 people playing Boros Burn. So a lot of people read the room right, and a lot of people liked their Burn decks. 7.5% of the meta. Overall record 32, 47, and 0. 41% win rate. So I don't know how to explain that, to be honest with you. Maybe I'm over... Maybe the blue-white match isn't nearly as close as I think it is. Maybe it's actually probably like 60-40 blue-white control, depending on which version you're on. I would like to look more at the Burn statistics and see what they actually lost against more. There's nothing I can really say about that. I mean, I had a poor day. I mean, let's scroll down to the Hammer. 13 decks. 7% of the meta. 56, 40, and 2. 62.3% win rate. Yes, this is kind of like a known entity of the format. Makes sense. So then we go down to Is It Tempo. 11 people played Is It Tempo. 6% of the room. 37, 46, and 0. 45% win rate. Yeah, I would expect that. I think this deck's just very poorly positioned right now. It gets caught by so much of the metagame. So much sideboard hate in the metagame, like Endurance, any kind of bounce spell. It also loses very hard to Teferi, 3 Teferi, so you can just bounce the Murktide. So let's move on to 4-color Elementals. This was one of the decks I've played with the most. This and Is It Tempo. 5 people played the deck. Less than 3% of the meta. 27, 10, and 4. This deck had a hell of a win rate. 74% win rate. So that's absurd. It did put 2 of the 5 players in the top 16. So that's pretty good. I actually thought this deck was poorly positioned against Jund. Maybe I'm just wrong. We'll see, though. I've played a few matches with Elementals against Jund, and I just kind of get blown out. They either have like a turn 1 Ragavan or turn 2 Ragavan with a Thoughtseize on turn 1. And they just kind of take your Mole Drifter or your Fury. I'll have to play it a little bit more, though. Eldrazi Ton, people are still playing this deck. Same match percentage. 40% win rate, as expected. I mean, I think Eldrazi Tron really relies on Chalice, and Chalice is just better in blue-white control, in my opinion. Living End, the deck that I didn't want to play, and it wasn't very represented there, and it went 14 and 15 and 52% win rate. I don't know how they got that with a 14 and 15 record. That's weird. So Crashing Footfalls, this is a deck I was also debating, but I was under the impression I had a pretty rough blue-white control matchup, but apparently I'm wrong. I talked to a few people playing the deck, and they think it's fine. I didn't want to bring it into a room with Boros Burn being in the top 3 most played decks and having just a medium matchup against Azorius Control, but they did alright. As expected, 60% win rate. Esper Reanimator, 2% of the meta, 14-11, 60%, 59% of the win rate. It's kind of like a person's pet deck. Amulet Titan actually has a pretty good win rate at 62%. I think it's seeing a resurgence because people aren't main decking Blood Moon as much, and food just doesn't really exist anymore. And the last deck is at mid-range, which is basically, I think they're just classing it as like Blue Moon. So, just your Blue Moon deck, 1 in the top 8, and the rest just kind of fell flat on their face at 7-18 with a 33% win rate. Let's go through the rest of this list and just talk about notables. This 4-color Yorion deck's getting pretty popular. I believe this is the Cascade deck. 1.5% of the meta, 14 and 12. Yeah, it did alright. This just kind of like popped up last week, so I'm wondering if it's a not familiarity with the deck. On a white hammer, yeah, I don't know why you play that when you play black-white now. Grixis Death Shadow, I'm not huge on this deck. I think it's actually just actively bad in a meta with Burn, as popular as it is. I mean, I get that it's not an awful matchup, but it's very taxing. Tamir Mill, okay, 3 people played Mill, 13-10 record with 57% win rate. I know a lot of the people at the top tables had sideboard cards for Mill, so that might be the case. I probably would have left Mill at home this week. Mardu midrange, Heliod with a 33% win rate, and Mardu midrange with a 25% win rate. This Jeskai Blitz deck, I don't know why people would ever play this deck. This deck feels awful. Gruul midrange was something I was interested in playing. It's got a 60% win rate. Only 2 people played it. I have to look some more into that. Let's roll on to the next page. Mono Red Eldrazi. I was sort of interested in playing that deck. Me and my buddies were talking about it, but we didn't end up committing to it. That's a Gruul midrange is Gruul Ponza. I think that's probably going to be about it. Yeah. So, if you guys have any suggestions for more videos like this in the future, I'm kind of thinking I want to do this for every tournament that we have this information for. Just kind of go over with you and where my mind was in the tournament. If you guys want to see more content like this daily, remember to smash that thumbs up button, drop some comments down below. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and I hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.